Welcome to episode 22 of the What Happens Next podcast, the podcast dedicated to talking about some of the issues that we don't normally consider in our 50s and 60s when we're thinking about either retirement or what happens next. I'm your host, Chris Daems, and my day job is as a chartered financial planner, helping people with the challenges they face when they're thinking about what happens next in their lives. And often the conversations I have start with a conversation about money. But today I don't want to talk about money. I want to talk about social well-being and friendships, because my experience is that often in the pursuit of success at work and success financially, we often ignore the impact of high quality friendships and social well-being. And in this podcast interview, I want to explore the importance of social well-being, why many people sacrifice social well-being in pursuit of financial wealth, the fact, the elephant in the room, that social well-being takes work. And I share the story of my friend Mike, who's brilliant at this sort of stuff. And I also want to promote having nuanced conversations about what happens next in your life. And I reference a really great book that I'd recommend that you definitely read if you're thinking about what happens next. So without further ado, let's talk about social well-being. So I'm doing a lot of writing at the minute on the concept of social well-being, what it is to have friendships and just maintaining social connections, just improve our lives fundamentally. And it's interesting because when often clients come and see me, they've attained a level of financial wealth, but they've done that often sacrificing other elements of their lives. And when we have a conversation about seeing friends, often that's the bit that they've sacrificed because they've been so busy with work. And they'll have friends at work, they'll have social connections, and they'll maintain well-being from that. But often some of those social connections are lost when somebody sells their business or somebody retires from a senior role in a large organisation. So what I am interested in is talking about social well-being from the perspective of, if your environment's changing and a lot of the social connections are in your environment, what do we need to do to make sure that we maintain social well-being? Because we know that loneliness has a massive impact, negative impact on not only our mental health, but also our physical health. So we need to think about this sort of stuff. If we're changing our work environment, we need to think about how social well-being is going to have an impact. So who am I to talk about this subject? My name's Chris. I run a chartered financial planning business, and we're really proud of the work we do, helping people work out how much is enough financially, building them a plan, and helping them think about what a life well lived means to them, using money as a tool. But interestingly, a life well lived for many of us, it's about other people. It's about maintaining those social connections. So at the minute, I'm spending a lot of time writing the What Happens Next book. I'm 50,000 words in as I speak to you today, and currently working to make sure that the book adds as much value as we can to people thinking about that next stage in their lives. Now, the book's not ready yet. It won't be out until sometime in 2025. I'm working hard to get it finished. But what you can do is sign up for the book waiting list, so you're one of the first people that gets access. You can simply do that by visiting whathappensnext.life/book. Join the waiting list today, and you'll be one of the first person to get access to the book and some extra goodies when it comes out. And what I'm going to do today is explore the one thing you should think about doing, the one elephant in the room we need to think about to improve your social well-being today. However, before we do that, I've got a favour to ask. What I'd love for you to do is like this video if it's of use and subscribe to the What Happens Next YouTube channel. My mission is to have better, more nuanced conversations about that transition we normally make in our 50s and 60s from full-time work to whatever's next in our lives. Now, you might notice I'm not talking about retirement. And for some people, retirement might be entirely natural. They've got rich next lives that they're happy to spend time in. But for many of us, that transition's scary. And what we'd like to do on What Happens Next is make sure that we're having more nuanced conversations about the factors that you should consider when thinking about that next step. Now, clearly one of those is how we maintain those deep human connections and friendships. And I think when we talk about social well-being, we often take for granted that we can make friends fairly easily. But my lived experience, but also the experience of people I talk to, is actually as we get older, making friendships becomes more difficult often. But the elephant in the room is this. I've got a mate of mine called Mike. And Mike is brilliant at this. Cass is brilliant at this too. Is to understand that maintaining social relationships takes work. And it's the simple things. It's the text to a friend we never get round to because we're too busy, but it's so important in making sure that we maintain that connection. It's the promise to meet up for a drink or a bite to eat, only for it to never happen. Actually making the commitment and booking that date and going along is key. And it's that regular check-in with mates on a WhatsApp group to make sure that you're maintaining strong social bonds. We know intrinsically and naturally in areas of our lives that, any progress takes work. In our financial lives, we know we need to make sure we do the work. In our intellectual and occupational lives, at work, we know the work needs to be done. But often we think that the social element is going to happen naturally. And interestingly, the research I'm doing for the What Happens Next book, I'm reading quite broadly around some of these elements. And there's a brilliant book that I'm reading at the minute called Build the Life You Want by Arthur C. Brooks, who's a Harvard professor, and Oprah Winfrey, all talking about the importance of social bonds and the fact that it takes work. So I've got a challenge for you. After liking this video and subscribing to the channel, I'd love for you to, in the comments, talk about the one thing today you're going to do to improve your social well-being, the one tiny piece of work. Are you going to send that text? Are you going to reach out to a friend? Are you going to set a date for drinks and a meal that you've been meaning to for ages, but you haven't? I would love for you to let me know. What's the one thing you can do today to improve your social well-being? Please put the one thing you're going to do in the comments. Hopefully that was useful, and we'll see you next time on What Happens Next. Part of the issue we've got when we're thinking about what happens next in our lives is having the self-awareness, having the introspection to be able to think about what the gaps in our well-being are. And we're doing loads of work at the minute with What Happens Next to build solutions that are going to help you think about well-being in a nuanced way when you're thinking about how it applies to your life. One of the first things we've built that you can use today is our What Happens Next quiz. It's free to do, takes about 5 minutes, but what it will do is give you an insight into the areas of strengths when it comes to your well-being and the areas you might want to improve. You can take the What Happens Next quiz at whathappensnext.life/quiz, and I hope it helps you in your journey to work out what happens next for you.